Today I'm going to share a story about how I manifested my special person, the love of my life, in as little as 2 weeks. I just wanted to share a real life success story with you guys and tell you my process and journey. First, it started off as I was single for about a year and a half. And this person that I met, I had no contact with before, never met them a day in my life. So it was definitely something pretty amazing, if you ask me. What I did is I started going into all the woo stuff about manifestation, controlling your reality, all of that stuff that you guys may or may not be familiar with. I'm assuming that you might be if you're on this video. But I started like a manifestation journal, and I started primarily with the relationship aspect because I wanted to manifest an actual love of my life, a real true love. So I got out my journal. I started out like many people do, write all the qualities, and I got pretty detailed with mine of all the things that I was desiring. And I have a video, I actually have 2 different videos on my channel if you want to check them out, about how to manifest either anything in your life or a special person. So after I wrote down all of the good qualities, I also wrote down a balanced of what I personally would have to do to make those manifestations come true. For example, being really attentive to my partner, being financially stable, those sort of things I knew were good qualities that the person I was trying to manifest would also want. So once I came up with this list, I basically slept on it, and then I didn't think about it again. I also, around this time, started online dating or app dating, whatever you want to call it. And the app that we used was Hinge. I was basically, what the manifestation journal did was help me really narrow down what I wanted. I basically got on Hinge, and I highly recommend you do this with your social media apps as well if you're serious about finding someone. How do I word this? Okay, so when I was on the apps, anyone that kind of seemed like they fit the profile based off of the way they looked, because that was a important thing to me. I wanted somebody that I was attracted to, physically attractive, like high attractiveness, at least to me. So anyone that I was attracted to, I was definitely swiping yes or right, whatever. And those people, I would then, I don't remember if on Hinge you had to message them or if they had to message you, but either way, I kind of left the ball in the court. I did not double reply to anybody. If anyone got pushy for me to get off the app, like add me on Snapchat, for example, that was really common. I just told them I didn't have Snapchat. I wasn't going to add them until I met them in person. So another thing that I kind of learned with it is having some self-love, is what they say, or self-respect, and being clear on your boundaries and not wavering on them. In the past, when I would do online dating, I probably would have said yes. I'd see no harm in it. But I decided for me, a boundary was not giving out any of my other socials until I had met that person in person. And it's not because I wanted to be mysterious or weird. It's more because I didn't feel like I needed to give any more information than what was on the social media app. Then I didn't need to give any additional information about myself without meeting the person, because on the social media apps, if somebody's harassing you or doing something they're not supposed to, you can easily block, delete, report them. But if you start going on other apps, it kind of, becomes harder, and I feel like you meet more predators when you get off the original app you're on. So that's just a word of advice from me, from me to you. So anyways, I would block anyone that sent me inappropriate things, or basically if somebody got super aggressive, like, why aren't you doing this? Or what? Like, I remember one guy on the app, at the time, I was like not ready. I was kind of messaging him and I was getting ready for the day. I had a towel in my hair, and this guy tries to like FaceTime me on the app, or whatever you call it, video chat. And I declined. Well, dude got super mad and super aggressive and said, "What are you trying to hide?" Super shady. And I, replied through the app saying, "Hey, I'm busy getting ready. I can try to call you later." Then he started using all kinds of cuss words at me. So again, block. So fast forward a while, literally, like I said, swiping yes to pretty much anything that could be what I was trying to manifest. Then after that, I always let the guy plan the date or ask me on the date. I never took initiative on that. I may have hinted a little bit like, hey, it would be nice to meet you in person, but I didn't ever like go out of my way and make the plans. If they responded positively and wanted to plan something, we did. If they kind of were like, yeah, maybe soon, I would just let them go at their speed. I was going on dates with people quite frequently, pretty much anytime I had free time and my schedule lined up with somebody else. So the dates usually consisted of coffee dates, sometimes a lunch date. We always met in public places. They never came to my home. So that was again to make sure, a safety thing, daylight, not meeting strange people, whatever. So usually the dates I tried to keep to an hour to 2 hours at most, just depending on what happened. Now, on the dates, I was usually pretty straightforward with people with kind of what I was looking for, anything they would ask. But I did something a little different than what I normally do because, again, when you're trying to manifest something different, you have to, I don't want to say act different than you normally would, but if you want different results, you have to figure out, what is holding you back. I spent a lot of time active listening. So I would ask a question, I would listen, I would pause and count to maybe 5 or so and let people finish their thoughts because old me would kind of jump in, get excited. Not that these are bad things, but sometimes people get a little bit of word vomit and they tell you a lot of things. And you can find out a lot, if the person fits the criteria of the list that you have that you're looking for or not. So after, a while of going on these dates, anyone that I was not feeling with it, either sometimes in person, I would tell them, this just really doesn't align with me. Or, sometimes they might ask me on a second date or whatever. And I say, I'm not really up to a second date right now, or, this isn't going to work. I was very straightforward. I didn't I don't know, we'll see, back and forth. I kind of went through my list each time and said, do they meet these things? Were there any red flags about these things? And I just simply basically kept it like a checklist, and it helped me stay super clear and focused on what I was trying to achieve. Fast forward to the day that I met this person, my special person, the love of my life, person I'm with now. He asked me on the date. We went to lunch. And he did most of the talking the entire day. I think I probably said about 10 sentences, which was fine because, again, I was looking at him, interviewing him, deciding if he was the right person. So I didn't mind that he talked the whole time. The conversation was enjoyable. He wasn't talking about things that were boring to me. We hung out. Our date was in the daytime. We wrapped it up, and then we went our separate ways. I didn't really message him right away, but he messaged me shortly after. And with messages, like, I didn't do the whole I have to wait 5 hours to reply or anything like that. I just replied authentically, and when I got it, that way you just, I don't know, make sure that you keep the person interested. Also, things on the date that I personally did different than how I normally would have dated in the past. For example, he kind of reached out to hold my hand. In the past, I don't think I would have held hands or kissed anyone on the cheek or anything like that. If it was the first encounter that I was meeting them, just because I felt that was weird. But again, trying to manifest the new version of what I want. So if everything was in a green light still, things like holding hands were definitely on the table. And I didn't take it any further than I felt comfortable. So we continued to see each other for several weeks, and things got much better. There is I don't know, what do you say? I say a negative turn, and manifestation also helped me get through this negative turn. 3 or 4 months into this, I decided that it was getting a little bit weird as far as I hadn't been introduced to anyone in his life. And since him and I didn't have the same friend circles, we didn't know each other prior, I just really wanted to get to see him interact with somebody else that he knew. So I, kind of asked him this for a few weeks to a month. He put it off quite a bit. So to me, this was a red flag, and it kind of, again, when we talk about self-love and our values and our wants and our boundaries, made me feel, when we're talking about self-love and going through that route, when I kept asking for this want or thing that I needed just to make sure that he wasn't really weird or have a secret life or a different family, to me, this boundary was kind of being pushed, and it felt weird to me to know somebody 3 or 4 months but not meet anyone in their friend circle, life, coworker, anybody, family member. So I told him, if I can't meet somebody, we're gonna have to like pause our relationship or whatever. So, and I also kind of wanted him to be maybe like public about us being boyfriend and girlfriend, telling friends, family, stuff like that. He was not quite there yet, which is fine. Like I said, we were total strangers. So we stopped talking. We went no contact for about 3 or 4 months. During this time, I responded very differently than I normally would. I spent a couple days kind of being a mopey, which is normal, kind of confused because I'm like, well, where did I go wrong? But I did act differently than I normally would. I didn't text this person, I didn't contact him, I didn't reach out, I didn't ask what was going on. I did none of these things. Instead, I spent like a month or so doing some inward reflection on me. Then I went back to my list. I modified a few things on there, and kind of, again, did the self-reflecting on it. Fast forward to about another 3 or 4 months. Out of the blue, we're just messaging again, and I kind of asked what had happened and like why we broke up or whatever, knowing that I had set a boundary basically. And he was like, oh, it wasn't you, it was me. I really just wasn't ready, because he had recently got out of a relationship too. So his, I guess, setbacks had nothing to do with me. So keeping it cool did help and play out in my favor. So then we started slowly chatting again. There was a couple times that because I told him I didn't want a relationship with him if he wasn't going to introduce me to somebody. There was a couple times like he got flirty or like suggestive chatty, when we were, this is all through text and message. And to be honest, this is something that old me would have never done, but new me said no, big old capital F U's, and it kind of shut all of that sort of flirty activity down. And when he was confused by it and said, oh, I'm sorry, he's like, I didn't expect you to act that way, what's wrong? I basically said, hey, I'm not wasting my time. If you like me, make it known, let's be official, let me meet somebody in your life, that sort of thing. And honestly, it worked out well. Within the week, we were dating. I've met several people in his life and family, and we basically picked up where we left off. Again, like I said, our current day relationship, we've been together for going on 5 years. Everything has been pretty ideal of like what I expected from a relationship. He's a very loving person and so on. I don't want to get too mushy on here and too much into detail. Yeah, I just thought I would share a success story, and just let people know that manifesting your person is real. It can happen, but a lot of it takes you being crystal clear on what it is that you want from a person, and then also shifting your energy in a way where you show up to be that person's match as well. And I'm not saying to change who you are fundamentally as a person, but take some time self-reflecting, have self-awareness, and be very mindful of how you show up in the relationship. And just understand, like, would you want to date you if you were, you know, like if I had been crazy texting him, like, why did you leave me? I'm so sad. Like, that is not attractive. That would be kind of like repulsive and push people the other way. I know I've had some stuff like that happen to me before, and I'm sure you have too. So, anyway, that's all I've got.